What is going on, everybody? It's Corey from the Breakevens, giving you guys my team reveal for January. But Jack and I are both going to do one now and one just before round one. So just to let you guys know what's going on. In terms of getting everything out the way, just quickly, we are the Breakevens. You can find us on Twitter at BreakEvensPod, on Apple Podcasts, or on YouTube. Search the Breakevens and you'll see our content there. All right, so let's get straight into this team picker. I'll go player by player, starting in the defense. And my first pick, no surprise, is Tom Stewart. Stewart for me, um, is a must-have. At 109 average last season, 604k. I think he can definitely average a lot more. He missed 5 games, it says, but a couple of those were due to suspension, and then a couple nickels here and there. So you could basically back him in for 21, 22 games. Intercepts marks, kicks the ball, knows how to hit a target. He's just super coach friendly, so he's number one for me. And number two is Jordan Dawson. Yeah, which I guess halted my whole season, especially from the start. Um, he's a must start. 109 average again. Same as Stewart, can go more. Has kickouts. Gets up onto the wing. Just an absolute ball magnet. Seagull. Um, and provides a little bit of value. I can see him going down 115, but definitely 110. He had a slow start to last season, and I think he will continue on his form from the end of last season, or the second half of last season anyway. Next one, I've been tossing up. Do I get in here? That's worth around that 500, a bit cheaper, like as a bid price. At the moment, I've got Harry Himmelberg in my squad. The reason I have him in the squad is if he has that defensive role, intercept marking role that he did last season, he provides a lot of value there at 500k. Easily someone who can average 100 and become a top 6 to 8 defender for sure. If we look, yeah, top 10 last season, Angus Brayshaw 100 flat. So I think Himmelberg, if he gets that role, can definitely hit that 100 mark and be a top 10. Could he push this 105? Possibly, but I'd probably be safer. Someone else who he could swap for is Nick Dacos. He's just over 500k. If I get it up here, Dacos 402k, average of 91. Had some foot niggles last season, so scores. Had a few lower scores, but I don't think he really had many under 80. Um, if if he gets more mid time, I think he can push that 95 to 100 as well. So some more value there. My only problem is I don't know what his role is going to be. So similar to Himmelberg, just going to have to watch their pre-seasons. Jack Pickford moved over from the Gold Coast Suns. Has had his injury problems, which isn't great, but we see with a lot of players in most occasions, they struggle with injuries at one club, they go to another club, and for some reason those injuries decide to go. Easily average you 90 there. The Cats paid what 700 to 800k for him. So you'd think it'd be best 22 if he's fit. It'd be pretty silly to pay that much for someone who's going to play on the gone there. Recently retired from coming back to the Lions, 167k, 500. Um, I think he's a great pick, and I really think he is best 22 for the Lions. Some people, is he going to play? Is he not? But if you look at their defense, they are, you've got the likes of Rich, Coleman back there, who are great users of the ball and very attacking defenders, but they lack that explosiveness. And Conor McKenna can be someone who hits the lines, and he's usually pretty good by foot, so he can hit a target in the corridor and really, I guess, project their attack going forward. So I think he is a must-have In your defense, I guess the real rookies. I haven't really had too many rookies, but next we're going to go Charlie Dean from Collingwood. Um, he was someone everyone. He was 102k back then. Um, had a foot injury, so he was out for a big chunk. Then Jordan Roughhead retired, and everyone's like, awesome, Dean's going to come in there straight away. We're going to have a rookie. But then he injured himself again, so Collingwood went, yeah, we'll put you on ice. We've got to make sure you recover, and we'll see how you go for next season. So he's had his rest. I think he does go straight into that roughhead spot. A lot of people say Nathan Murphy, who did really well for the Pies at the end of last season, but he's not a key position defender where Dean is. I think he's top 190s, close to that 200 mark. So I think he's the great if they can stay fit and just check. Next we'll go to someone who everyone was big on getting go, and that is Chesser, Campbell Chesser. Um, West Coast were big on him last season. Um, that real halfback wing role seems to suit him a lot. Do I think he gets best 22? I think if he fires preseason, he will, and then he'd be a great loophole option with Dean to see who plays early, how they score, so you try and maximise the your points there. So Chesser, I'm big on. Actually injured at the moment, but that is Fisher McCasey from the Adelaide Crows. Um, he's shown, I think it was 2 seasons ago, where he played in his rookie season that he could find the ball, intercept marks, um, and as that defender, as we know, intercept marks, great for Super Coach. He can also play forward, so that is the only worry is if he gets put up forward. I don't think his scoring potential um, will be anywhere near what it could be. If he gets that intercepted role on half back, he could fit back there if fit, but he does have a niggle at the moment. But as we know, all right, we'll move to the midfield. I've spent up a little bit here, not as much as some people, but I've tried to get this to go pretty deep. So when this loads, my first pick will be Clayton Oliver. Chuck him there, 699k. I was tossed up between him and Laird. I think you definitely need to start one of them. And for me, that's Clayton Oliver, just because he has the two best rucks on his team. Max Gawn, Brady Grundy. Doesn't matter who's in the ruck, he's got to get prime service. Average 127. I think he can hit that or get a big Bradley year for Clayton Oliver. So, and he's always durable. I only missed the one game last year. I think that was because of the broken thumb. So, lock him in there. My next one is I've skipped these guys, the Ombula Mills, and I've got Marcus Bontempelli. With Josh Dunkley gone, and the inclusion of Rory Lobb, I think Bond plays the majority midfield now. They need that big body exploding out of packs. Do I think he will still go forward? Yes, but I don't think it'll be as much. I think they're going to have to lean on the Bond as much. Of that 116, he can easily go 121. He also hits the scoreboard, which is key. So my early predictions is Bont or Clary for the Brown. I think they're both locks. Now we're going to go down. I was looking at Jack Steele for M3, but I've decided at the moment to go Luke Davies average last year. It was sort of a half breakout. Oh, it's clicked on Will Brody there. Go fix that up. Yeah, so Luke Davies, Uniac, half breakout. Everyone's skeptical because what does Ben Cunny to do now that he's had a full preseason? I think they have to start to think of the future. As good of a player Cunnington is and a leader, I think he's got to rest a bit more forward. So I think Luke Davies Uniac is the number one midfielder for North Melbourne. I hope Clarko backs him in. And I see him going 110 plus. So I've gone for a bit cheaper of an option. Yeah, I think it is a great pick. Next, I've gone cheapish again with Tom Green. As we know, Hopper and Taranto have gone to the Tigers. Um, then they have Cogs, Kelly, and then a, a, a few others that can go through there. I think Tom Green is the ball to sort of take over that Hopper role. Um, except Hopper goes more of a wing sort of role where Tom Green, I think he'll just be in and under the packs, tackles, contested possessions, getting the ball out, clearances. I think he, again, is someone who you definitely have to look at as that cheaper option. Um, but saying that, does he get a tag? What's his time of ground going to be? Because he seemed to burn out towards the end of last season. So hopefully, with another preseason in him, he can run out the whole season. But I think 110 easy there for Todd Green. And my last one is someone who I'm not 100% sure about, but I'm a Collingwood supporter, so I'm going to chuck him in for now. Tom Mitchell, 96 average. He didn't really have the role under Sam Mitchell last year. They sort of tried to blood the young guys in, and you saw that um, with the rise of John Newcomb. Tom Mitchell, I think he's got to be the number one ball winner for the Pies. My only worry is how does him and Taylor Adams clash? But coming from a Pies supporter, Taylor Adams will probably be out half the season. So I think Mitchell definitely averaged that 105. Can he go 110? Quite possibly. I don't see him going back to his big years of 120, but I could probably see 105, maybe 115 there, and a value pick. So, yeah, that's what I've gone with there. Now we'll go to the mid pricer that most people are going to start. That is Jacob Hopper. So, as I said before, he's left the Giants along with Taranto. Richmond sort of need that big body midfielder, Cotton and Martin are getting older. You got Graham there, who could do a job, but I think they back in Hopper and he just goes there, inside outside player, loves to tackle, can easily go that 90 to 100 that we've seen. So I think Hopper, lock him in your side. If that's at M6, M5, depending on your structure, I think he's someone who has to be in there. Now, this is my next pick is a bit of a risky one, and that is, if I can find it, there is Finn Callahan, 244,000. Again, Hopper Taranto out. They're looking for someone else to rotate in. Finn Callahan, 244K. He's a contested beast. He showed that in his under 18s. He can find the ball. Can he get a chance here alongside Tom Green? Um, I think he has potential to score that 85 to 90 on a consistent basis if he gets the role under Kingsley. So that's the only thing I'm worried about is his role. Um, if I do not like his role, I will be looking at Will Ashcroft to go in there. Yeah, he's probably my replacement for him, so I can make 42K there to upgrade somewhere else if needed. But at the moment, I'm backing in Callahan. But Ashcroft is always there. I think he will start, but he's a bit of a rotation risk, or that sub risk. So that's why I haven't put him in yet. Next, someone else I think people should be looking at is Will Phillips, 158K 2 years ago. In his rookie year, got consistent games. Didn't set the world alight, but he's another one of those big bodies. He's put on more size, so he's up, down and dirty sort of guy. Last season, he got glandular fever twice, so he was out for the whole season. So I think he is definitely someone at 158K can get you those 80, 85 scores, and he's going to make you close to 200K there. So Will Phillips is in my squad. Next, the Freo Dockers, Matthew Johnson, 123K. Someone again, last year everyone was big on was touted for games early, but then I think he broke his foot in pre-season, and then Freo started to win some games, so he found it hard to get into that squad. I think he's someone that they will definitely look at this season, and can definitely do a job. Loves there. Next is Josh Sid. Played one game last year. I think he got injured in that game at 24. Is that wing sort of forwards sort of player. He's got a belted left foot, um, dash and carry, everything you want. The only problem is he is a little injury prone with those hamstrings. So um, Port definitely rate him. So I think he will get games. If that's not from the start, he'll definitely get some closer to, I guess, the mid rounds. But for now, I'm backing him in the start. And next, this guy is going a little bit under the radar. That's Oscar Baker. I think with Dunkley out, I think Baker uh, gets a role if that's directly in the mid or if that's on the wing. But I think there's definitely a spot there, especially also with the Seagull Lockie Hunter is all has also left, so there is a weak spot there. And I think Oscar Baker will take that spot. Um, and that's it for the midfield. It's not a bit cheaper, so I could go deep there. Hardest line. There's no real number one or two run. There's four or five, maybe even six. That puts one is Jared Witt. Did two games last season, 109 average. Started really big. He had some monster scores there. So those who jumped on him early while he was cheaper last season got the rewards. But then he started to deteriorate late, and maybe that's because he was coming back from ACL. He didn't quite have the run in his legs. Now he's got the run in his legs, full season, full pre-season at the moment. He's the only one I can back in who I feel like's got to score around 110, who's got to play 22 games. And he has that number one ruck role, which we're looking for. If anything happens to Tim English, he's probably going to be my R1. The only problem is injuries and concussion. Um, and the Bulldogs usually are a bit cautious with concussions, especially with English. So he usually has that 2 weeks off instead of one, like most people sometimes do. But he has the scoring potential. He's ceiling 190, 200. We've seen that before from English, but at the moment, I want someone and my R1 who is going to play 22 games. So that's why I have Wit. My R2, no surprise, most people go this Darcy Cameron from the Pies, number one ruck role. Um, Everyone is unsure about how he goes with Mason Cox, pinch hitting, but I don't think Mason Cox makes best 22, unfortunately, for those who love the big man. With the inclusion of Dan McStay, I think he'll be our pitch hitter in the ruck, and obviously play majority forward. So Cameron has that ruck one spot. I think on lock, and he averaged 97 after Grundy went down. Um, so I think you're looking at easy 100, 105 mark there from Darcy Cameron, and he has forward DPP, which is great. Um, Next, my loophole, I've gone for a loophole this year, looks like, and that's Nicholas Madden, 102k ruck forward. Pretty self-explanatory. On some rucks to get forward DPP status, maybe like a Grundy, a Gorn, even. Yeah, so that I'm backing on some rucks there to get some forward DPP, maybe even English, but who knows? All right, we'll finish off with the forward line. There's a lot of value in the forward line this year. That's why I'm going Josh Dunkley straight up, 596k, average 108. Got to the Lions. I think he can easily average 115. 22 games. I think with the Neil there, I don't think he'll get tagged at all. Neil will cop the tag every week. Josh Dunkley in scores goals, tackles, he does a lot. So Connor Rosie, I think he's going to have a good breakout season. We've had more mid time, but I've gone for Tim Taranto. I think he is a must. Averaging 91, 16 games last season. He missed the start of the season, I'm pretty sure, with some injuries. So I'm locking him in at F2. Um, Again, as I said before, with Hopper, Martin, and Cochin, starting to get a bit older. Taranto will go in there and hopefully play majority mid. If he does, we've seen he can score. I'm banking on 105, 110 average from Tim Taranto. His only downside, I guess, is he's kicking. He doesn't seem to hit teammates, but that's sort of how Richmond play. They just get the ball, kick it forward, and try and make it scrappy. So he might fit in very well with the Richmond system there. But I think he is a must-have. At F3, going Nat 5, 313k. Dual Brownlow medal. He's done everything but basically but win a grand final. Um, Injuries the last 3, 4 seasons have kept him down, but for a dual Brownlow medalist at 300k in the forward line, I think it's a must. He can easily get that 90 to 95 average for you because I think he will play a good chunk in the forward line. But they've said we need him in the midfield as well. So if he stays fit, he's getting that mid time. He's definitely going to be a great stepping stone. I don't think he's a keeper at all. But let's say by round 6, 7, you go 5 into a Cogs, into a Butters, Rosie, or he definitely great stepping stone there. Next one, I think someone else who's going under the radar, and I'll put his first name in, but that's Oscar Allen at West Coast. 210,000 injuries last season kept him out. Kennedy retired, so they're looking for another big forward there. So he'll take that number 2 spot in the forward line. But what I like about him is he's very versatile. So he can also be that interceptor marker in defense. He can also pitch hit in the ruck, which they like him to do. Nick Nat goes off a lot. Put Allen in there, so he also get those tap points as well, tap to advantage. And then if he kicks 1 to 2 goals, you're already looking at an 80 average there. So yeah, I think he's a great selection. He's got to stay in my squad for now. Next is Toby McLean from the Bulldogs. Injuries last season, found it hard to get back into the squad. A couple of years ago, he had that midfield role for the first half of the season. It was averaging around 100, 105. And then they gave that role to Josh Dunkley, and then Dunkley took over from there because McLean out with some injuries. But if he's fit, 178k, again, someone who can easily average that 80 to 90 with the right role. There's definitely some rotation minutes there for him, but I think he's a must start if fit. Next one at the moment, and this definitely won't stay, possibly won't stay, is Ben King, 176k, coming back from ACL. The reason I've picked him is he's best 22. You can put your house on it that he will play every week if he's not injured. He's got to be the number 1 target, so he's got the best opportunities to kick goals. Yes, he's a bit wayward at times, but you're banking on a 70, 75 average here to make you some money. So if he stays fit, I think he's a great selection. But if I'm not liking the look of Ben King, I also have Josh Bruce, who I'm looking at, who's also coming back from ACL, 161, so he's a little bit cheaper. There's rumours he might play in defense as an intercept marker. So I'm definitely looking at him pre-season, seeing if Bevo plays him in that back line. If he does, Bruce will come in for King because there's a bit more consistency in that defense than there is for a key forward. So that's what I'm looking for there. On my bench, everyone's favourite Finley McRae, um, hasn't set the world alight at all. His first year wasn't really given a chance as in role. He was stuck up forward. Last year, he was looking good. Everyone was on him. Only managed the 2 games of a 16 average. Um, it's do or die for McRae here. He really needs a big preseason. Really needs to prove himself, and there definitely is a wing spot up for grabs. I feel with some rotation into the midfield, that could be his. At the moment, he's just a placeholder. See how it goes pre-season, but the kid's got a lot of talent. We saw how he scored 80 in like a quarter 2 years ago. So he's definitely got the potential there. It's just he needs to prove himself to um, the coaches. And my last one, definitely just a placeholder, but I think he might get some games during this year. That's Alwyn Davey Jr., 117k mid forward from the Bombers. Um, from what I've heard, explosive, very good by foot, good around the goals. So if he does play, he'll probably play as a forward pocket, which we know isn't great for Super Coach, but it's 117k. Um, and I think he was the first. No, he was the second selection for the Bombers, I believe. So I think they definitely rate him. But we'll wait and see. Another one for me is Joe Richards from the Pies. Mature age, big body, someone who can definitely get those minutes in the midfield. It'll probably be out of Richards McRae. Um, I think the only problem is he best 22 or is he going to be that 23 sub that people are worried about? So yeah, that is my squad as it sits. As I said, rookies can definitely change. I've got a few like Hilberg, Mitchell, and King and the bench guys who can definitely change. So we'll see to keep an eye on pre-season. Leaves me with 18k, but I need to go Callahan down and then bump that up to about 70k. So I like the way my structure is. So I think I'm going to try and keep this structure as much as possible. But anything can happen. So yep, thank you for watching and listening in. Again, Breakevens on Twitter, so search Breakevens Pod, or YouTube and Apple Podcasts. Search the Breakevens and you'll find us there. Um, and that will do me. So Jack will upload his, record and upload his. And we're back on the 11th of January. If this comes out beforehand, we're back on the 11th. If not, you already know we're back with weekly podcasts. So we're super excited to uh, have you guys follow along with us Super Coach journey. So um, yep. Again, thank you for watching. Go follow us and subscribe on all our socials, and I'll chat to you next time. Bye bye.